Okay, so the next thing I want to mention is when you are writing when we're using our code here, um, especially so first of all, I want to talk about in our setup, the difference between using the setup and the loop. So when you put your functions in setup, they run one time. If you put them in the loop, they run repeatedly. So a lot of times when we're using Drawbot, we'll put stuff in the setup because we only want it to happen once. Now the problem is when we're using the Drawbot, when it's done moving, it's going to it's going to have the motor still on. And the way the stepper motors work is they're going to continue having current through their the coils to keep the coils energized and to keep the motor in place. And so if you remember that the stepper works by cycling through these Arduino outputs to energize the coils. And so when you're done, some of these are going to be turned on still, and they're going to be using energy to hold it in place. And so what we want to be able to do is when we're done, turn those off so we don't waste energy. And so we're going to create a done function that's going to go ahead and turn off all the stepper motors. Okay, and you can see here the stepper motors are connected to pins 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, might be different for yours. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down to the bottom and create a function called done. So it'll be void done. Okay, oops. Okay, and all we're going to do here is we're going to use a for loop to cycle through all those pins. So we'll say for, and I think we said the smallest value is 3, int x equals 3. So it says start at 3 and go until x is less than, I believe the highest value was 10, so we'll say less than or equal to 10. So x less equal 10, and then we'll say x plus plus. And what we're going to do here, we'll do the braces again for the 4. Oh, I think I think that's good. Okay, and so now what we do is we're going to say, okay, we're going to say digital, oops, something happened there. So we'll say digital write. And what we're doing here is we're referencing each of those pins. So in this case, we'll use X to start with pin 3, and as it goes through, it'll go through each other pin, and we're going to write it to low to turn them all off. Okay, and that's all you have to do. That function caused them to turn off so that the coils aren't energized anymore, so we're not using energy to hold it in place when it's not moving. And what this does for us is whenever we want to use it here in the setup when we're done. If we use it before we're done, we're not going to be able to use the servos anymore, or the steppers anymore, I don't think, because we've turned them off. We might be able to, I don't know. But we use it here when we're done. If we're using it in our loop, we won't use the done function there because you're doing something that you want to go happen repeatedly, so it's never going to be done. Okay, and so here's kind of the basics, and there are ways to repeat it a couple times in the loop and then stop, and we can talk about that later. But for now, anytime we only want it to happen a certain number of times, we're going to do it in the setup. Okay, and that's the basics of it. That's how to turn the motors off when you're done.